Hello and welcome to the Path of Least Resistance. I am Cite. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to go over some just tips and tricks. This is going to be mostly new player focused, but you might find something in here that'll help you. So for the start of the new year, we're going to do something to help the newer players. So tip number one, there's this button here. It lets you switch between your world adventure, your nightmare adventure, your team fight, and your event stuff, right? So there's that button there. It's not, people don't always know it's visible, but it is there, and if you want to do harder adventures, you're a new player, you don't know that it exists, eventually you'll unlock nightmares, you're going to press this button, and that's where that's going to be. So that's tip number one. And then also there's this button here which shows you all your world adventures, and this changes based on which, I don't know, campaign mode you're in. So if you're in Nightmares, it'll show you the Nightmare Adventures, and if you're in World Adventures, it shows you the World Adventures. So that is that. Another good tip that I like is in the options. If you go to video and you scroll down, there's Path of Champions in-game animation speed, and I like setting it to 4 times. This will vary by your own preference, where you want to set it, how good you are at identifying cards without really seeing what's happening, but it can make the game a lot faster. I think 1 times is way too slow. Yeah, so I just generally don't like that, so I set it to 4 times, makes it so that I can do more in a day as well. So yeah, there's also this disable motion button. I don't know, I do not like the motion. I don't like shaky screens. It makes me a little bit nauseated, so I try to avoid that, so I disable motion. Our next tip is if you want to change your loadout, you have to go to the fight menu. So we go into, like, let's say the first fight, boom ba boom, and we click on this, and then you can change your boards, you can change your card style, your guardians if you have them, your card back, whatever, set your emotes. Apparently there's titles in this game, and pins. I don't know what these are, and apparently I don't have any on this account, so but yeah, if you want to change your card backs or whatever, your champion skins, that kind of thing, you do have to go into right before the fight, otherwise you can't change it, which is a bit of a mistake. But yeah, and that tip is brought to us by Lau in the Pathcord Discord. Also link the Pathcord Discord. It's a great place for just resource advice and normal advice in general. People are pretty helpful, no one's too mean, so yeah, it's a good place to hang out if you are interested in Path and you have questions. I'm one person, so you'll get my opinion if you ask me in my Discord, but you'll get a much wider breadth of opinions if you ask in the Pathcord. There's a lot of players there. Alright, our next tip is in the shop. There's the Emporium, and obviously I haven't been playing this account very much, but I think it's going to be the best example. You can open all these things. Resource management is its own topic, and we'll get to it later, but I think something that's really important is that there's this relic right here. So you have the gold reliquary, which you should always buy on cooldown, because it has a month cooldown. This is the first thing that you want to spend your Stardust on. Only costs 3,000. You get a bunch of Stardust just from completing all the adventures, and you get more the more you play. As your champions become shards, I think you get Stardust, and then also when you get duplicate relics, you get Stardust. So this should be fairly easy to buy. You can also buy Stardust in the Glory Store. But you're going to want to buy the Golden Reliquary, that's number 1. And number 2, you want to buy this relic. So this relic is the only place where you can get duplicates of campaign relics. So you get 1 from doing the campaign, and then you get your 2nd and 3rd from purchasing it here. And you're going to want to purchase it because it's the only place to get it. This is also duplicate protected in the sense that if you have the maximum number of a relic you can get, so for most relics that's 3. If you have 3, it'll never show up again here. So this is also the only place you can get Gale Force and Golden Spatula. Golden Spatula doesn't really matter, but Gale Force is very good on a number of champions. So yeah, this is the only place you can get it, and you're going to want to buy it, I would say, every time you can. It has a 3-day cooldown. Just keep that on cooldown until you have everything you want. So a couple copies of Grand General's Counterplan, Stalker's Blade, Gale Force, and there's probably others like Curator's Gatebreaker's not bad, Hymn of Valor's fine. But I would just keep buying it until this is empty. It'll never actually empty out. Eventually you'll just see Cosmic Blessing, because you can get an infinite amount of those, so it's always going to be available. And sometimes that'll kind of stop you from buying other relics. Like the fewer relics there are, the more likely it'll be Cosmic Blessing instead of what you actually want. But you just keep checking that until you get all the relics that you want. And you can kind of check that in your relic screen. So here, like I have 2 Caulfield's Hammer, that means I can get 1 more. A lot of these are limited ones, like Chemtech, Condenser. I've been spelling that wrong this entire time, I think. Corrupted Star Fragment, Crown Guard, those are only one-offs, but like Dreadway Chase Gun, you can get 3, Guardian Angel, you can get 3, Guardian's Orb, so Guardian's Trinket, Heart of Gold, Hymn of Valor, like a lot of these you can get multiples of. And there is also a Relics page on the wiki, and I reference that a lot. It also will tell you which relics are signature relics, and I think you can actually just type in signature and it'll bring them up. So these are relics that are unavailable in the Golden Reliquary. You can't get it from there. And then the rest of the epic relics you can get from the Golden Reliquary. So I refer to that page a lot, and yeah, make sure you buy the Golden Reliquary and that relic until you have all the relics that you want. I think that is very important, and because it's on a cooldown, you want to make sure that you're doing it just all of the time. Otherwise, you're not going to something. You're just going to be behind in what relics you have available to you, and it's going to make your life harder. In addition to that, you can look up campaign relics. So if you just type in campaign, these are the relics that are available from the various campaigns. So the most important ones are probably like Crown Guard Inheritance. Luden's Tempest is pretty good. Hymn of Valor. Stalker's Blade is incredible. Tempest Blade is basically necessary. Grand General's Counterplan. Loose Cannon's Payload. Scourge's Stash. So I think those are the most useful. You do find occasional uses for the rest of them, and you should definitely complete them all. If you look at that wiki page that I was mentioning before, which will also be linked in the description, you'll be able to see which campaigns they come from. Advice from Zarcast, from the Pathcord and the Reddit, was to do Vi's 2-star campaign as soon as possible. That gets you the Grand General's Counterplan, which is a very, very good relic. And then advice from, let's see if I can find where I wrote down, Prophecy. Oh, I get it, Prophecy, haha. Is to get Loose Cannon's Payload. This comes from Garen's campaign. And put it on Jinx. That should be enough power to get you through most adventures with Jinx. And then, what words am I even looking for? And then it will also help you get through a bunch of the Nightmare adventures as well, so you should be able to easily clear like the weeklies, and usually like the 4.5 and 5.5 star Nightmare with Jinx just by having like Loose Cannon's Payload. I usually pair it with Guardian Angel and Scourge's Stash, but you know, something like that. Loose Cannon's Payload is the core of every Jinx build, so if you have that, you can get started, and then that gives you a way to earn rewards every week. So you know, you'll be easily able to do your weeklies, which gives you the Bronze Reliquary, which gives you a Relic, Common Relic, Silver Vault for a couple shards, and then your Silver Reliquary, which gives you a Rare Relic, and you know, all of those will help your progression. When you get into the Nightmare adventures, you do start getting Glory. I can click on it. You do start getting Glory from that, and also Legend Points, which gives you stuff for your Legend level, which, you know, Gold Vaults, Platinum Vaults, all this stuff is good. Silver Reliquaries early on are very good, that kind of thing. So you do want to be doing as much of this as you can. This is basically how you make your account stronger week over week. On top of that, there are path achievement quests. So I've done most of them, so they're not going to show up here. I guess on every account I've done most of them, but you do get rewards. Some of those are going to be Nova Vaults, which will give you a Nova Crystal, which will let you get a champion to 6-star. I think it is important to get at least one champion to 6-star pretty early so you can easily clear out these nightmare adventures for the same reason, just for the rewards. It gives you glory you can spend in the glory store, and then there's a lot of good things in the glory store. That's outside of the scope of this video on exactly what you want from the glory store. Your top champions are going to be Swain. If you get a Noxus Crystal, you go Swain. If you get a Runeterra Crystal, you go Fiddlesticks. If you get a Freljord Crystal, you go Ash. And then it's a little more complicated for everything else. Those are going to be your top 3 champions. There are a lot of good 6-star champions. Most of them, honestly, are pretty good. Like Victor is incredible. Jinx isn't bad. You have a lot of good options in the 6-star realm, but if you get a good 6-star early, that will go very, very far in just making sure that you can easily grab rewards without too much struggle. Whereas if you don't have good champions, you might have a hard time with like the weekly portals, the nightmares, and the terror portal in particular can be very challenging. And you know, you do want this glory and the legend points. So getting a good 6-star early so that you just don't have to struggle with anything, I think is a very good idea. Also, in the glory store, I said I wasn't going to talk about this too much. I would not buy wild fragments. I just do that because this account doesn't use epic relics at all, so I don't have to worry about certain things. There are the Aurelion Sol fragments. This should be your first buy. They're very inexpensive. It only costs 20 or 10, and you can only buy 5, so you only need 100 glory per week. Aurelion Sol at 4 stars is one of the best champions in the game. Probably on par with all of the rest of the very strong champions at 6-star. Even at 3 stars, he's fine. Even at 2 stars, he's functionally one of the best champions in the game. So make sure you're spending your first 100 glory every week, or every month on Aurelion Sol. I believe it takes 4 months to max him out. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's right. So yeah, just keep buying it until he's maxed out. And you will not regret it because he's incredible and he's an easy way to do difficult challenges. Also, one weird trick with glory is that, like, let's say it's the end of the month, like right now, and you've maxed your glory road, and you can hold these adventures until the next month. So I have 80 challenge XP here and 40 challenge XP here. I'm going to eat those up once the month turns over, and then I don't have to do monthly challenges. Because the reward for monthly is just challenge XP. If I get all my challenge XP from another source, or like plus 120 means I can not do a few challenges, right? So that is a thing you can do on months where there's 5 weeks. You can hold it to glory and then maybe do a little less in the monthly challenges. I know a lot of people do not enjoy monthly challenges. I'm one of those people. So yeah, that is a thing you can do to reduce the amount you have to do. It might not reduce it by too much, but you know, maybe you can just get away without doing them all if the month lines up properly. Also, I forgot to mention when we were talking about the campaign stuff, you do want to unlock nightmares if you're a new player pretty much as soon as possible. Because it gives you access to all that glory and whatever, some extra rewards and stuff. So in order to do that, it's in one of the path achievements. I don't remember exactly. I think you have to beat like a 3.5 star adventure and then restart your game. But it'll show up here as a path achievement. Once you unlock it, then you have access to it. And you can beat a lot of the nightmares fairly early using Yasuo with Tempest Blade. Tempest Blade is Misfortune's campaign relic. Or you can use Jinx and just do like the 4.5 star. Either way, you should be unlocking nightmares as early as possible so that you have access to that. Yeah, and that'll help you start getting rewards quicker so you can start growing your account. Right, on to some combat stuff. You can stack slow spells with fast spells. So this is from Hooded. So you can do this. And then you can also do that, so this way you can play a slow spell and a fast spell at the same time. You can't do it in reverse order, so I can't play Proximity Buff Cap and then play Cosmic Binding, so sometimes that leaves you in a worse position than you would otherwise be in. But yeah, you can stack spells that way. On Lissandra's adventure, you can play 2 spells or 2 actions and then play 4 fast spells or whatever all at once, and they won't get cost increased until they actually go off, so you can use that to play more inexpensive spells. You can also do things like attack and then play a spell on top of that. This isn't always advisable depending on what the spell is, because here they could block anyway with a stunned unit, so they'll just block with a stunned unit there, and then, you know, we don't actually accomplish anything, but that is a thing you can do. It sometimes is useful. It depends on, you know, context and all of that. And then the other piece of advice from Voodoo Pad Umraza, who is me being me on YouTube, I'll link his channel as well, is that knowing when to pass is the most important thing in the game, and that is absolutely correct. So you'll see a lot when I'm playing, if you've, you know, watched my videos, that I often will pass before I play a card because I want those cards to live. So for example here, if I want to get this Trickster down or whatever, and let's say they didn't have quite this much mana and this much board, if I play the Trickster, there's like a high possibility that they're going to use Shield Vault. That's what this card is. First I'm going to play 100 other cards, but see, that was Shield Vault. I knew it was Shield Vault. And if I play other cards first, then the Trickster won't get hit with Shield Vault once they don't have enough mana to play it. So that is one thing you need to learn. That does take a lot of experience, and sometimes you get it wrong. You'll have definitely seen in my videos where I think that I know what's going to happen, and I didn't. And, you know, I'm like, if I do this, this will happen, and then I pass, and then they pass back, and then I die. That happens. It's just kind of a thing that happens. But you learn the general patterns of enemies the more you play against them, and then you get an idea of what they're going to do. So that's how I knew it was Shield Vault that was coming, and not something else. And I knew that if I played it, I was going to get hit with Shield Vault. But it's learning experience. But it will prevent you from losing the game a lot of the time if you know how to dodge spells. So learning the enemy deck and playing around their threats is important. It's more important in PvP probably than PvE, but it is important here too. We also have a couple more combat tricks from Jace in the Pathcord. So you can use the eye to see what will happen. So I know that if I attack, this 2 damage, he'll die, he'll get the Fury buff, whatever, and you can see that just from pressing on the eye. If you have like other spells and effects that happen, you can look at the eye and it'll tell you what'll happen. In addition to that, if you get a giant card or something on your screen where like there's a visual bug, if you click on the eye or hover over it, it'll remove that so that you can see your screen again. And then to play your units on the phone, you can just swipe, and then you can pull them all up. And another thing you can do is you can set the order of them by pulling them in whatever order you want to attack in. So, like, if I want the Dawn Speakers first, and then the, what's this called? The Tea Maker, then the Junk Construct, I can do that. And then, let's say I want the rest. Now they're in that order. So, this matters sometimes, especially if you're using something like Corrupted Star Fragment. And yeah, it's important, or it's not important, but it'll save you a little bit of time to just click them all and pull them rather than not. Or if you press the A button, it makes them all attack. That's on the keyboard. I don't know on mobile. I really don't play on mobile. I don't know how to use phones. And then if you press space, you'll pass or confirm an attack. So if I press space now, we commit, and then I'm going to die here because obviously, but you don't need to see that. And for some general pieces of advice, Know how to draft. There is a drafting guide by HP Dark Eagle on the Reddit, which I'll also link in the description, which is the guide to drafting, and that has information in there that I don't even know. But like which regions you pick influences what cards you get. So if you want lifesteal, you basically have to be in Shadow Isles or Ionia, that kind of thing. The cost of your support determines what items you can get, and like I said, I don't fully know all of the drafting things, but I do know that, you know, if I pick Karma, I'm going to get more stuns, or whatever, you know? If I pick Yasuo, I'll get more stuns, that kind of thing. So, knowing how to draft and picking your support properly is important. Anything that costs a lot isn't super useful, so this is more advice from WoW. So he says, do not draft big units and spells are greater than units, and that is generally true, I would say. Path of Champions tends to be very fast, so if you have a card that costs 6 and it's a unit, you're probably not going to be able to play it, and even if you did, it probably wouldn't be very good, because things just don't scale well into deadly adventures. So you'll play like a 6 cost 5/5 and you're just like, okay, what is this doing? It's just gonna die. Whereas a 6 cost spell can do a lot of damage, either in terms of control or actual damage. So yeah, do not draft big units. It does not help you very much. And then, like I said, I'll link the drafting guide. In addition to that, the best advice I can give you in the entire game is to draw your champion, and because of that I end up removing a lot of cards at the healer. If I think I can survive the next fight, I'll prioritize removing a card, or if I have a lot of revives, I'll prioritize removing a card over healing, because the less cards I have, the more likely I am to draw my champion, and drawing your champion tends to be your win condition. So, you know, if you want to draw your champion, you need to remove your cards. If, like, my perfect deck on a lot of champions is just my champion. I mean, obviously you would run out of cards and you would lose, but if I could have 20 copies of just my champion, that's probably fine a lot of the times. Not really, but you get what I'm saying. Draw your champions. And then Lau also says that the best common relics are Lost Chapter, Everfrost, and Starchild's Staff. So Starchild's you might not be familiar with because I don't use it, so if you're just watching my videos, you're never going to see it. But this gives you 5 regen in adventures, so especially when you're leveling up in early in adventures, having 5 regen is a lot, and it'll basically, you know, that's a fourth of your life when you start, or 6 after you hit, I think, level 2 or 3. And so you can take a lot more damage if you have more regen. Lost Chapter gives you spell mana when you play your champion. 3 spell mana is huge. It is very good on a lot of champions. And then Everfrost stuns the strongest enemy. If you can pair this with something like Guardian Angel, then you have a lot of defensive power. We use this on Kindred, double Everfrost, Guardian Angel, and we're able to stun the entire board all of the time. So these are very, very good relics. Yeah. And then I think that is most of my advice. Oh, yeah. Finally, rewards and currency. It's too big of a topic, but maximizing your rewards is really important. When you start off the game, you'll be in your world adventures, and you want to do as much as you can in all of these adventures. So I think Scion's jawline in the Pathcord said that he was not aware that these 4 of 8 completed meant 4 of 8 different region requirements. So yeah, that's what that means. And that's important because this is how you get your rewards, basically. So this is in any region, this is Demacia, and then we've done some of the other stuff here. So if I want this gold vault, I just do one more, and then it'll switch over to the next reward, and then we can use any region there. So that's what that means. It is important to do as much of this as possible. You get a lot of shards, you get a lot of reliquaries. It helps you complete your quests, which gives you more shards, reliquaries, vaults, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, you want to do all of it. Obviously, I have not on this account. Actually, I haven't on my main account either, because I just don't need any of the rewards at this point. So I'm just kind of holding off. And you can see kind of where you're at by looking at this button again. So I've done 76 out of 168, 10 out of 15 in Nightmares. Did all the team fight adventures because it's temporary, so there's no reason not to do it. Unless you're a very, very old account, you should be doing everything. I can hold back because I want another champion before I get extra gold vaults or whatever, because otherwise they're just going to turn into dust. But yeah, you would normally want to complete all of these adventures. And yeah, that's how you get your rewards. So that's what these numbers mean. This 8 out of 8 means that I have to do it 5 more times on 5 different champions. And then if you do that, I get rewards. So Shurima Silver Vault is coming next. And then, yeah, Reinhardt suggests going to the Pathcord and looking at the resource management page. There is all sorts of advice that can be given there. It is on a player-by-player basis because you'll get different relics, you'll get different shards, champion shards, fragments I guess is what they're actually called, and like that sort of thing. So people there will be happy to help you out, and at where to spend your wild shards, how to spend your stardust, how to spend your glory. All of that is way too complex and too individual to really talk about in a single video, but it is important to manage your resources. It's like one of the main things in making your account stronger and, you know, making the game more playable or easier, I guess, because everything can be done at 3 stars and no epic relics, but let me tell you, it's a lot easier if you're not doing that. The difference between my main account and my alt account is huge. I never have any worries on the main. And yeah, you know, sometimes you struggle on the alt. It happens. And a lot of, you know, if you're a newer player, you're going to struggle because you have access to less things. Which is why we have the channel, to try to help out as best as we can. But knowing how to manage your resources will make it so that you get into a stronger position faster, and then a lot of the tedious stuff you'll be able to just blow through instead of, you know, having to spend time, effort, energy, and brain power on, like especially weekly nightmares. Once you get like Aurelion Sol to 3 or 4 stars, or, you know, one of the other really good champions to 6 star, you'll just crush right through them, and then you get that glory every week, and it takes you 15 minutes instead of maybe 30 minutes or an hour, depending on how difficult the modifier is. And so, yeah, all of that's really important. And it is hard to know what to do when there's so many different types of currencies and that kind of thing that's thrown at you at the beginning. So it is nice to have help and advice. And then my final tip is, you know, have fun. It's a game, you should be having fun with it. I have a lot of fun doing like the challenge stuff. I don't know if it's really a challenge, but you know, 3-star no epic relics is definitely more challenging than 6-star is. So I have a lot of fun with that. I don't play all of the champions, and other people do, and so their experimentation can lead us to really fun builds that we might not have otherwise thought of, like Condenser, Infinite Rally is something that, you know, my brother came up with the basic idea for, and I think I modified it a little bit to get it to a point where I thought it was more viable, but I wouldn't have thought of using Condenser and then finding Rally on your support champion. That's just not not the way my brain works. I would never think of that in a million years. But as soon as he mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. We could just attack infinity times. How do we make it so that this is consistent, right? And I'm good at that. I'm good at figuring out how to make something consistent. So talking with other people is fun. Watching the experiments is fun. I think we have actually a long way to go on figuring out like relic combinations. Obviously, we can all pick something that, if you're using 6 stars and all the epics, can run through every adventure. But I think because it's easy to do that, we haven't really gotten into the weeds of like what we can do with something like Condenser Infinite Rally, which is just like a really fun thing to do that, you know, makes a lot of strategies more viable than they otherwise would be, or like Star Gem Katarina against Lysandra, you know, things like that. I think are good ways to cheat the game a little bit, and sometimes you need to do that to do things within like the time limits. And it's fun to look at, even if it's maybe a little boring or tedious to actually play with. I think it's fun to figure out new combinations and stuff, and you only find that out if you're experimenting. Or also, there's 80 champions now, I think. 81 champions. You might have fun with a champion that I don't enjoy. You know, we all have different play styles, and you might be suggesting to me like, hey, try this champion on this adventure. It worked out really well. I was surprised. So something like on the Rogues of Runeterra, we had Varus and Nyla as champions that we use. I never play those champions, but other people suggested them to me, and I said, all right, I'll try it. And they were really fun. So, yeah. And, you know, it's a community. We talk to each other, and we all get better together, and that's what I'm trying to do here, and that's what a lot of other people are trying to do here. So, hopefully, these tips help, and we go into the new year a little bit smarter, I guess, more knowledgeable than we were before. And if not, you know what, that's fine too. So yeah, if you have any tips and tricks of your own that I didn't mention, and I'm sure there's hundreds, drop them in the comments so other people can learn from your experience as well. And hope you guys have a great new year. We will start the monthly challenge videos this week, and you know, we're going to do the guide for that coming later tonight. So unless I decide not to, because you know it's New Year's Eve and maybe I don't want to do that, but I'll probably do that. We'll see. And yeah, Happy New Year, and hope we have another great year of Legends of Runeterra. I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope that you are too. So thank you for watching as always. If you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.